come and take the table. Vishnu Bhakti Devi Satyavate Namo Namaha. Vindai Tulsi Devaya Priya Keshava Shicha Vishnu Bhakti Devi Satyavate Namo Namaha. Vindai Tulsi Devaya Priya Keshava Shicha Vishnu Bhakti Devi Vindai Tulsi Devaya Priya Keshava Shicha Vishnu Bhakti Devi Satyavate Namo Namaha. Maharani ki jai. Namo Namo Lati Krishna. I sing first, then you respond. It's called call and response. Lati Krishna Prayasi Namo Namo Krishna Prayasi Namo Radha Krishna Seva Karo Jaya Vilasi Radha Krishna Seva Karo Jaya Vilasi Nitamara Saranalai Aram Mara Sharanalo Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Srinda Devi Jaya, 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 Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Vinde Jaya, Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Vinde Devi.
Vinayak Devaya Priyaya Krishna
Vishnu Bhakti Pradevi Satyavacana Mona Maha. Vinayaka Sudevaya Priyati Shiva Shishya Vishnu Bhakti Pradevi Satyavacana Mona Maha. Maharani ki Jai. Tulsi, beloved of Krishna, vow before you again and again. Our only desire is to attend the service of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you has his wishes fulfilled. Bestow your mercy upon me and make them a residence of Radha. My desire is also grant us the residence and the greater growth of Sri Radha. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful path of Krishna. I beg to make you so that you make me a powerful counterguard with Raja. Please give me the privilege of devotional service. Make me your own servant, the very fallen and lovely servant. Please pray. By our spirit and the love of Shri Shri Radha and Govinda. Yeah. Show your details. Jai Jagannath! Jai Jagannath! Baladev Subhadri Maharani ki Hare Do we know any Bhaja? What about Mana? What about Yasomati Nandana? यशमती You don't have to change that. Everybody knows English. I'm preaching a lot in Eastern Europe, so I always have to stop and get everything translated. My favorite girl from, where are you from? Russia? No. No, Russia? Ukraine. I was just there actually, 2 weeks ago. It's difficult for the devotees, but somehow it's going on. Sometimes people become more serious when there's war going on. So anyway, I'm thrilled to speak about Srila Prabhupada, and I love to speak about Srila Prabhupada. I got initiated in the spring of 1969. I was in university. Prabhupada came there, and he gave everybody initiation. It was someone was the second initiation. I was first. There were 3 or 4 other devotees. So Prabhupada was with his servant Brahmananda Swami at the time. I don't think he was Swami. Brahmananda, and now we have to take ashram when we. So I took ashram. I was a little enthusiastic because Prabhupada was there. So Prabhupada saw my enthusiasm. He turned to his servant and he said, "He's a good one." Really, the price is enthusiasm. If you have enthusiasm, Krishna melts. I don't want that. You can't hear me in the back?
It's better with this. Better with this.
Huh? If you need a microphone, I could use it, but I have a bad experience with microphones. Especially they all quarrel with me. Okay. Hare Krishna. That's better?
Yeah. Yes.
Right. So then, after initiation, I graduated from the university in sociology. I was thinking, well, I'm going to try this sincerely, at least in 6 months or a year. And if it doesn't work out, I can always just leave and go. I was going to go to California and find a wife and settle down. But that was 1969. So I'm still trying out this Krishna. But I don't think I'll be leaving. It's been a wonderful journey for me, and certainly all the credit goes to Srila Prabhupada. So then after that, I went to see Prabhupada in New Vrindavan in the spring of '69, maybe a month after I graduated. I came to the New Vrindavan and I said, Srila Prabhupada, I'd like to open a temple in California. And Prabhupada said, yes, we need somebody. He was encouraging. But then after, I was there for a while, and Prabhupada got notice from London that the 3 Grihastha couples who had gone there to open the center, that they found a place and they needed a brahmachari because the men coming, but they would like to have a brahmachari to live with them and train them. So Prabhupada asked me to go. So of course I agreed. And of course that means, Prabhupada said, yes, I want you to go to London. He didn't give me money for a ticket. You had to go out on the street and hustle. I was selling incense sticks or magazines or something to get the money. Telling people, my spiritual master sent me to London, please give me some money. And they would do. But then I came to London about a month before Prabhupada came. Then he came in September '69 and he stayed for 3 months. And I was senior brahmachari, so I was given the service of giving him massage every day. Like for 1 hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour. And now is the best time of my life. I mean, I felt all my lust just disappeared. I mean, I'm a New Yorker, I was in the Navy, I've been with women, and so I was troubled by lust like everybody is. But touching Prabhupada's body, it just disappeared. I felt so, I couldn't keep that all the time over the years, but I did experience what it was like to be free from lust for a little while at least. And that gave me hope. Well, why can't I be like that all the time? Because Bhagavad-gita clearly says, right? Kamesha, Krodesha. This is the biggest sinful enemy. This is lust. It turns into anger. You're not satisfied. And then it creates bewilderment of memory. And then you fall down. science of how to give up Krishna consciousness, become too much lusty and too greedy, and these things, they spoil our Krishna consciousness. So otherwise we're not against having children. You want to enjoy sex life? That's perfectly, Krishna says, I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. So then Prabhupada sent me to London and I was giving massage. So after the first day of massage, I said, Prabhupada, I never gave massage before, so I want to go to the library this afternoon and get a book on how to give massage. I said, not necessary. You read Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will tell you how to give massage. So I didn't go to the library. And then I have a lot of remembrances of that time, because it was just me and Prabhupada and I. And I learned later that I wasn't supposed to speak so much, because when he was taking massage, it was a theory that he should be resting, recuperating. But I didn't know that. I learned later from Harisari and Shruti Kriti, and so they said, you spoke so much? But I didn't know. So I just, whatever came to my mind, I would speak. Like one time I said, I was massaging his feet, and I got a memory of my earliest memory, my mother bathing me. And I told that to Prabhupada. He said, yes, this is mother's work that you're doing. Taking care of the body. And it's true, Prabhupada, he would sit so straight, and I would think he's such a good boy. He was just like, and I actually called him that once. I'll tell you the story about that. Some of my guys didn't like it that I called Prabhupada a good boy, but the story was like this. I was always wanting to go with Prabhupada, but then at the end, someone else had already been assigned to give Prabhupada a massage when he came to America. He was leaving London to go back to America. And so his servant came to me and said, stop bothering Prabhupada about going to America. Upendra is going to be the one to go. So later I was in the car and I was driving. I was driving him. I was like the massage chauffeur. And we were alone. And I said to him, Prabhupada, your servant told me that Upendra is going to be giving you a massage when you come to America. So Prabhupada knew I wanted to. But then he responded by utter silence. He was just sitting this far away. I had spoken very clearly. Utter silence. So then I thought it must be true. And then I thought, okay, I resigned myself, I'm not going to go, right? It's not going to be the end of the world. I adjusted my mind, and I wasn't going with him when he left. But still the silence was there. So I wanted to break the silence, at the same time let him know that I was resigned not to go with him. So I said, after a long silence, I said, Shri Prabhupada, I never met Upendra. Is he a nice boy? Then Prabhupada turned to me in the car and he said, not as nice as me. So we made it to my heart. Prabhupada loves me. And it's true, he loved us. He was so generous with giving love. And how can I give up the service of such a master? So I'm stuck with him for eternity. God. Then later, maybe a few days later, maybe one day before Prabhupada was due to leave, I was massaging again and I said, Shri Prabhupada, we're going to miss you so much when you leave. And then he came out of his resting booth and he started, no, Guru Das is here and Mukunda and Shamshunda, like that. So then I didn't want him to be disturbed about it. I was, so I wanted to change the subject and let him know that I was all right. So I said to him, yes, Baba, but you're such a good boy, we'll miss you. And then Prabhupada smiled and relaxed. And gave him the So he really was like a good in that sense, but at the same time, he chastised me a number of times. Like the same period of time, when I was earlier, I was thinking, well, maybe I won't be able to go to Prabhupada. So I said to Srila Prabhupada, just the two of us, alone again. I said, Srila Prabhupada, I can't use my god brother who I knew, and I liked his kirtan, he was a good singer. And yeah, I heard he just opened a center in Berkeley, California, which I also like. So when I said that, Prabhupada was joyed, and suddenly, as soon as he heard it, from inside, he became angry. Angry, real anger. And he spoke. That is not your duty to contemplate what is your service. You're a brahmachari. I said, wow, what am I getting into here? But I surrendered. I just shut up. And I understood Prabhupada wanted us to be loyal. He didn't like I was mentioning how to do it or problem. He wanted me to be his man and do what he wanted me to do. And I learned that from that little experience, to be loyal to him. And that helped me. After Prabhupada left, sometimes the God was like, oh, we should go to Srila Maharaj, or we should go to the Dharma. I said, no, thank you. Prabhupada is my spiritual master, I'm not interested. And even some of the gurus were like canvassing that we should follow them after Prabhupada left. But I was fixed. I was Prabhupada's man, and I wasn't going to be changed by any circumstance. Should Prabhupada keep? Yeah. Okay, what else? So that was London. Then after London, he sent me to Japan. He gave me sannyas first, which was 1971. So he felt the urgency to establish the movement all over the world. And he sent me grihastas, but they weren't so effective, honestly, because like the Temple President's wife left and she went back to her parents, and the Guru Das and his wife didn't get along. They had to live separately. So it wasn't so effective. So it was better to have sannyasis go to the new places, open a center, and he'd be alone for some time. And so Prabhupada was, by 71, he was thinking like that. I want to have this movement all over the world. Sannyas is the best way to get it all over the world. So he was creating sannyasis and sending them out. So that's what he did with me. But he first, we were together, he said, so I'd like to, forget exactly what he said. I want to give you sannyas, something like that. Then I said, Prabhupada, I don't know if I'm qualified to give you sannyas. Then he turned to me sharply, you want to get married? I said, no. Then he said, you can take sannyas. So I was only 29 years old. But he wanted he wanted to get a few sannyasis out there and open it, more than a few. He made quite a few sannyasis. A lot of them didn't last, but he was thinking, take a risk to establish this movement before I leave. He knew he was deputed to have a worldwide society. International. See, international is the first word. ISKCON, international. So Prabhupada wanted to fulfill that. He wanted to have a real. The only place we are and haven't gone really is North Korea. Any volunteers? So we are international. That's I hope we can remain international. There's some talk of India West and America, or India East and America West. I hope that there's no schism that takes place in our society. Maybe if you can influence your men to keep us all together. Prabhupada wanted that. I saw he taxed his brain from 69, how to keep this society together after he left. Because he saw what happened to the Gaudiya Math. Every sannyasi started his own mission. Now there's like 79 Gaudiya Maths. Because every sannyasi had a few disciples. Then he had his own mission. But Prabhupada wanted us to be united. International society. So there may be differences. One of the differences is the India East doesn't like it that in America they've created some
women as guru. But it's not a big threat. Come on. If there's one or two women, Prabhupada asked directly about this. He said, by a woman professor who was well known, and there were many disciples there. She asked him, can a woman become guru in your society? Prabhupada answered, yes, but not many. He didn't just rule it out. But the philosophy is, Lord Chaitanya has given, one has to know the science of Krishna. Then he later on in that conversation, he said, just like a professor, if she's qualified, she can become a professor. So Prabhupada seemed to be open to letting a few women take this role of being a spiritual master, but not many. That was seemed to be his last instruction. But there's another passage there. Anyway, I don't want to get into it too much, but whatever influence you have, let's keep ISKCON together. Okay? Otherwise, the first schism is hard, but the second one is easy. Then the third, then the fourth. Then it doesn't end. Because there's always going to be some disagreement among men. You notice that? And men quarrel with each other. Of course, you ladies don't. But amongst the men, the ego comes in. And then we don't want to work with him. But we start our own mission. Prabhupada saw that even in his society in the beginning. But what he would do is he'd just, okay, you can go and open a center in another city. You can't get along with this devotee. Then try to do this by your own. Bring somebody and open a center in St. Louis. So he didn't want to break the GBC, but the temple presidents can proliferate. What's the word? Prolificate. Yes, we can prolificate. Is that an English word? Prolificate. We can have many branches. Yeah, and we've been doing that, right? In Bombay, there's many temples, is there? Yeah. 4 temples. In Delhi, I heard there's 10. So that way we can expand, but we keep under the shelter of the GBC. I was there when Prabhupada signed his last will. The lawyers came, he sat up in the bed, and he signed. The GBC would be the managing authority for all of ISKCON. That's the way he was hoping to keep it together. It may not work. It may not. Therefore, he made the BBT separate. He wasn't he was a realist. Prabhupada wasn't an idealist. He knew. They can be Kali Yuga, they can always be quarrel, and they can separate. So he wanted us to be united, but just in case there was a separation, he made the BBT separate. They have their own incorporation. They can't be just manipulated by the GBC. Okay, so back to some stories about Prabhupada. So he sent me there, and I ended up in Hong Kong one time, alone. But a few people came on Sunday. So one of Prabhupada's servants came, again it was Brahmananda, and he sent a telegram to Prabhupada in India. He said, Sri Vikram Swami is alone, send help immediately. So after the 10 days, I got a letter from Prabhupada. He said, Brahmananda says you're alone there, but what is this alone? Vaishnava is never alone. Just like apparently I was alone when I came to your country, but I was always feeling the presence of my spiritual master. So if some people are coming on Sunday, you continue like that, and don't feel alone. So I did. And I learned to be alone. This is the qualification of a sannyas. They're supposed to be able to live alone. So I don't feel alone because I have the holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
But I don't mind being alone because the Krishna is there and Prabhupada is there. So. Of course, it's nice to have association with the devotees. Don't you recommend it? This kirtan especially, I see the kirtans here are wonderful. They give you a higher taste. I'll tell another story about kirtan. We were in London. No, in Vrindavan. 1974, Vrindavan, India. You've all been there, right? Who hasn't been to Vrindavan? Huh? None of the law, you haven't been to the law. So you're going to go soon. And the lady goes soon. Okay, so anyway, I was there. Because Prabhupada was supposed to, the plan was originally to open the temple on Janmashtami 74, but it wasn't ready, so it was delayed until April 75. So we were alone with Prabhupada. So we was there. There was about 30, 40 devotees, and a few couple of sannyasis. So Prabhupada had been a little bit ill, but he wanted everybody to come every night for the program. Every night. So every night we had a program, and the program was RT for 25 minutes, 30 minutes, then class. So Prabhupada wasn't giving class, so we had to give class, the sannyasis. I gave one class in front of Prabhupada, and it was a little scary. But I managed to do it. And then the second kirtan. And the second kirtan would go on. Go on as it went on for an hour or two. And it was very ecstatic. So after one of that second kirtans, I could see Prabhupada's health was improving. And he came back, and I went with him. And Shrutikirti was there, his servant. And he was sitting on the bed, those wooden beds that they have. But before he put the mosquito net up, he was speaking. He spoke something. And he spoke with full conviction. He said, this kirtan is a special mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Special mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And then he said, if we don't get life from the kirtan, simply sex life. So that's our choice. The sex life doesn't finish, even up to the point of death. You can have sexual fantasies and so on. So the only way you're going to get rid of it, you have to get a higher taste. And the kirtan is the easiest way to get a higher taste. So come to the kirtan whenever opportunities there. And then you can purify yourself from this lust. We have to change the lust into love. This is the process. Okay, then again, Prabhupada was in Hong Kong. And when I was the temple president, we put him in the Hilton Hotel. Because we just had a small apartment for the temple. And from the airport he came, we were in the car behind Prabhupada. And when Prabhupada pulled up to the hotel, the doorman came to open the door for Prabhupada, and he assisted with to get him out. And I was thinking, wow, that's really a gyata sukriti. It means unknowingly, he did some wonderful service. He took Prabhupada's arm, helped him out of the car. It's like hitting the jackpot. He's opening so many doors, but then he opens this door, wow. He gets real credit. Unknowingly, but he'll get the credit because he assisted a pure devotee. So then, at that time, we were meeting. We met in Prabhupada's room, the leading devotees, and one devotee was having a problem. He had taken sannyas, but there were some rumors, and I don't know exactly, but Prabhupada knew about that he was struggling with his sannyas vow. So he asked him to speak in front of us. There was only 7 or 8 men. No lady. So he was asking him to speak something about the difficulties he had in Mayapur, because he was there the first year in Mayapur before we had any buildings. When he was 73 or something. And he stayed in Bhajan Kutir, which is right, when you come into the property, on the left side, there's a Bhajan Kutir. So that was the only building. So he stayed there, and then there was a flood that year. So he's telling us how the water was coming, how we were living in the rafters, and snakes were in the water. So we were all appreciating. And then Prabhupada turned to me. What was your most difficult time in Krishna consciousness? He asked me. I was telling him in Japan, we had this big building, but we couldn't keep it warm in the winter. We had a kerosene heater, but the only way to be warm is you keep the heater in front of you, but then your back would get cold. So you had to turn around. It was cold. His sleeping bag was warm. So anyway, I told this story. Then I was so stupid. I guess it was stupid. Well, you have to tell me, was I stupid? because I asked Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, what was your most difficult time? Stupid or not?
No.
No. Prabhupada didn't like it so much. He said, he kind of made a face and he said, you don't want to know about that. There wasn't no laughing. Nobody was laughing. Prabhupada was dead and grave. Grave as a heart attack. And I remember thinking, good thing he didn't tell us. Just by hearing it would have killed us. So we think we did a little austerity here, but how much austerity did Prabhupada have to see? Coming to the heart attack, seasickness, alone, his godbrothers against him. Difficult, very difficult. Shri Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
He did it so we should always be indebted to him. And always try to please him. That's why I know he'd be pleased. Or he wouldn't be pleased if we had a schism. So you ladies, I know you have influence if you're not. So preach to them. Let's keep this kind together. Okay. Then another story. Yeah, he wanted me. This is how this was like 74 in Mayapur. In Mayapur, I was planning to open a center somewhere in the Far East, and I had one boy with me who was going to come. And then Gopal Krishna Maharaj, you know him, did he come here sometime? How many of his disciples were here? Disciples of Gopal Krishna Maharaj? Anybody? Okay, then I can tell the story more straightforward. Because he, at that time, he was the only GBC for all India. Soon afterwards, they separated, and then Bhavanand and Chowpatty became GBCs for Mayapur and so on. But at the time, he was the sole GBC. But he came to me, and he said, Prabhupada wants you to stay here and be co-director for Mayapur project because Bhavanand has to leave. I said, I already got a plan here. You're not my GBC. You can't tell me what to do. Go like that. There was also some false ego. I was thinking if Prabhupada wanted me to stay here, he should have called me himself. That was my ego. And actually in the future he did. He knew I was like too much over the top with authority. I didn't like authority very much. I wanted to be independent, so the GBC would always give me trouble. I could tell some stories about that. Anyway, so then, later on that same day, Gopal Krishna asked me in the morning, then in front of everybody, 30 people or so, Gopal Krishna said, Srila Prabhupada says he's not going to stay here in Mayapur. So I was finished. Prabhupada looked at me and said, why? What's the problem? You don't want to stay? I said, well, Prabhupada, if I stay here, I won't have any preaching. And I forget exactly. First, I made 3 arguments. The third one he finally smashed me through. So I made some argument like, they only speak Bengali here. I've been a sannyasi for 5 years. I won't be able to preach in Bengali. And then he counted, oh, you've been a sannyasi for 5 years. You don't know how to preach. You never preach. What makes you think you know how to preach? So he slammed it. And then I surrendered. I stayed there. And it was good. It was good for me. And I don't know, I didn't get many complaints, I don't think. Being co-director for a big project. But when tourists weren't there, with this company, there wasn't many people. But we managed. And then Bhavanandi returned. Then I went to Vrindavan with Prabhupada to get my next assignment. So he chastised me. But then he saw that he saw that I was too independent-minded, so he said, that's okay, I know you can't work so well with the GBC, so you can work directly to me. So I became like Prabhupada's direct. He would call me and send me to some place, and then after I was finished, or my 4 year was up, I come back and I report to him, and then he gave me another assignment. So I was kind of a little special because I was so fucked up. I couldn't just be, I wasn't so easy to be under the GBC. I still have the same problem. I mean, sometimes the GBC is stupid. But I have respect that unitedly they come up with they don't make mistakes. But individually they can make mistakes. And I don't like to be directed with somebody who's mistaken. Please forgive me. But still, I want to work together. I mean, as I've mentioned a couple of times. I don't want to throw out the GBC. Okay, so then what other story is there? I'm coming out with a book. I finished it now. These are all these stories. So I bet I don't tell you all the stories, otherwise you won't buy my book. Next time I come, I'll have how many copies? How many copies should we bring?
About 5,000.
5,000? How are we going to carry it?
We can print here.
Or should we print in India?
Yes.
We have good printing here, huh? Anyway. So any questions from your side? Somebody bright-faced Matatis?
Title of the book is Priceless Moments with a Pure Devotee.
What was it again?
The name of the book that you're covering.
Priceless Moments with a Pure Devotee.
Priceless moments.
Priceless moments. It's true. I don't think I came up with that name, but one of my disciples. It's a good name. Priceless moments with a pure devotee. Then in the last days, I was with them. It wasn't always so. How can I say? When Prabhupada was 80% lenient, he said. But in the last days, it wasn't so liberal. If he made mistakes, he would immediately. It was a different mood, and it was still good, but you have to be on your toes, and I made mistakes sometimes. At the other side, when he did give you a compliment, you know it was real. Like it was. The system was, in Prabhupada's room in the last days, we always had a kirtan going. Small cartel, this big, very softly, we would always chant Mahabharata. And sometimes we'd stop and recite Bhagavatam. If the only time we'd stop, it would go on all night, even when he was sleeping. Only time we stopped when Prabhupada wanted to speak. Then immediately we would stop. He would speak to his servant or secretary. And sometimes he would speak to all of them. Then, I got sick. Like now I have a little cold. Well, it was bad. I didn't feel that I should go into Prabhupada's room for some days. And then I came back and I was singing, and Prabhupada recognized my voice. And he said to me, he said, oh, you are still here. So it made me feel so bad that he was thinking that I would leave. And there's no place to go. But he was like in the mood of Mahabharata that everybody was serving Krishna except him. And then he said, I'm such a trouble. You young boys have to stay with me. You should be out preaching, but you have to stay with me or something like that. And it made me cry, his mood. He was so humble and so self-effacing that he thought he was troubling us. And then he said to me, call the others. So I went out and I told them all, and others, the problem was everybody could come. So all the devotees, Bhakti Shri was there, Shri Maharaj, and so many devotees, then we all came into Prabhupada's room. And then he said, I'm simply causing disturbance, so I want to leave here. I want to go on a bullock's cart and travel around and go downhill. So we were against it. Some one or two devotees were in favor. We were trying it, but Prabhupada, like Bhakti Shri was saying, Prabhupada, the Kaviraj thinks it's not a good idea. And I was also thinking, I said to Prabhupada, but it's so cold. It was like November, it was cold already in the valley. And he said, we can stay under a tree. What did I say? And then Lokanath Swami and I, we brought the bullocks. We were standing outside, but that was in the evening. So the next morning, probably through the boat. I'm a quick one. So I was in Prabhupada's room, and there was one Prabhupada's godbrother, Kirtan Krishna Das, his name was. And he was sitting on the bed with Prabhupada. Big bed. Maybe you've seen that bed. The same bed, I think. So then suddenly, two devotees burst into the room with emotion. Bhakti Shri Maharaj and Bhavananda. And they said, Shri Prabhupada, Tamal is really upset that he's going on the bullocks tomorrow morning. And he's so upset he doesn't know what to do. Tamal had a special closeness to Prabhupada that most of us didn't have. Like, I'll give you an example. In the last year, he was Prabhupada's secretary and servant in charge with him. So once, Prabhupada said, call tomorrow. So he went, the devotee went to tomorrow's room, and he was taking Krishna. He said, tell Prabhupada come taking Krishna. I would never do that. I'd be afraid of Prabhupada would stop eating. But that was the relationship that they had. And when the devotee came back and said, Prabhupada, he's taking Prashad, he'll come and say, oh, okay. It was like a special relationship. Like that Tamal was the man. I mean, he was so smart and efficient, and he dedicated. I mean, I couldn't have done that service. It was difficult. So we respected him a lot. At the same time, he wasn't a pure devotee. It was like, there was still some false ego, which is another story I could tell. But that's what I do. I don't know if I should tell these kind of stories because they make the guru in a little awkward position. Okay, I started. I can tell the story. I was in my room. Mangal Arti. Prabhupada Swami came and said, Prabhupada wants to see you in his room. Now I got it backwards. I was in my room. This is the day before. And Prabhupada called me to my room. And he said, I think you wanted to go to China. I had been preaching in Hong Kong and Taiwan. But he said, I think you want to go to China, mainland China. And I was thinking, it's impossible. We're communists and they're not going to let us come there. So I said, if you want me to go, I can go, Shri Prabhupada. That's all I said. And I was thinking, how can we go to China? So the story was, the night before, there was a controversy between the temple president, or the day before, and the GBC. The GBC, headed by Tamal that year, they were distributing a lot of books with a program they called Radha Damodar Bus program. So the buses would go all over the country, this is mostly in America, and they would stop at the temples. But then they would recruit men from the temples, and they'd run away from the temples. So the temple presidents didn't like it. So in their meeting, they complained that this bus party is coming, stealing our men. The prophet heard about it, and he was upset. He said, this will cause a fratricidal war. And so he called Tamal, and he said, why is this happening? And like that, it was going back and forth, and Tamal at one point said, well, what should I do, go to China? And then Prabhupada thought about it that night, and he just thought that was a good idea. And then he called me. He wanted to have it already set up for Tamal because Tamal was special. That I would do what Prabhupada said, but Tamal might not. You know, so he had his lineup to get Tamal to surrender. Yeah, it wasn't a trick. Tamal was heavy. So then he told me, I came to his room. I said, yeah, I can go if you want. He said, okay, go to Tamal's room and tell him to come down. So I went to Tamal's room. I walked in. He was alone. He said, Prabhupada wants to see you in his room. Tamal said, I'm not going. He knew why I came in the room. He was so smart. He knew that the night before he had mentioned China, and that I was going to be the one to go with him. And we didn't get along so good. So okay, then suddenly I was left alone in Tamal's room. So I went down into Prabhupada's room. Prabhupada was in the toilet. But the 3 executive committee of the GBC were lining up, choreographed, what to say when Prabhupada comes out. And you tell him this, you tell him. And I didn't like it, you know. I said, it's like they're ganging up on Prabhupada. So when they came out, Madhavisa spoke. First he said, you know, Prabhupada, there's 2 sides to the story. And he's there. Radha and the temples. So I got into it. I said, no. There's only one side, Prabhupada's side. And they looked at me with daggers. What are you getting involved in this for? Like that. So then, Prabhupada said, I want you to go to China. And Tamal made some excuse, I'm in charge of Radha. So many books are being distributed, how can I give up that service like that? And then Prabhupada saw that Tamal was determined not to go, to keep his service where he had. So then he broke the tension by saying, okay, you don't have to go. Then immediately, the fever came down, and Prabhupada said, so who will go? Then somebody said, from the GBC? One of them said, Prabhupada said, yes, from the GBC, who will go? Then Guru Guru said, he said, well, I'm not very qualified, Prabhupada, but I could go. Prabhupada didn't even look at him. He just remained focused on Tamal. Then again, it was clear that it was Tamal versus Prabhupada. It was just the two. And Prabhupada said, it is my intense desire that you go to China. And Tamal kind of laughed. He said, I can see that. But he still didn't surrender. He was a strong-minded person. Extra intelligent. Like he went, after Prabhupada left, he went back to school. He was the number 1 in his class. Number 1. So smart. So Prabhupada said, Tamal said, I can see that. And he kind of left in a strange way. And then Prabhupada said, okay, you don't have to go, but you can stay here in Mayapur. I'm taking your services in charge of Radha Damodar way. You stay here and chant Hare Krishna. Then he surrendered. And Prabhupada took his service. But the first thing he said was, okay, I can go, but I don't want to go with Sri Swami. And I said, thank God. And he said, instead I want to go with just a junior, which is, he was also sannyas, and he was closer to me. So, then where was I? What was the next time? Oh, okay, yeah. In the last days, there's another story that shows Tamal's intelligence. I was with Tamal, and Prabhupada came into his room. So Tamal's quarters were in the back, and Prabhupada's room was in the front. And I don't know what brought me to Tamal's room. We were friendly. It wasn't like we were guy boys. I did respect him. So then Prabhupada came into the room, and he rang the bell. Well, he rang the bell. He was already in his room. So Tamal, of course, immediately when that was the bell for him. He was the secretary. So he came in to the room, and started talking to him about the Kaviraj, who was coming in the last days. Prabhupada had a dream that a Kaviraj wearing Ramanuja Tilak would help him. So they found such a Kaviraj from Calcutta, and he was coming to Kirtan and so he was on his way. So Prabhupada was asking about that and so on. And Tamal knew the details I didn't know. So they were talking. And then after talking for some time, maybe 10 minutes, Prabhupada again asked, so has he left? So I thought he was talking about the doctor, but I was wrong. And I said, yes, Shri Prabhupada, he already left. So Prabhupada immediately knew that I was wrong, that I didn't know what I was talking about, and I had gotten into an exchange between him and his secretary. Because of my big mouth, I spoke something when I shouldn't have. And like I said, Prabhupada was strict, he was strict in those last days. So he didn't let me off the hook. He said, well, who did you think I meant? And I knew I was on thin ice, so I started to try to backtrack and get up. I said, Prabhupada, I was speculating, please forgive me. Who did you think I meant? And where we go? And then I had to tell him, I said, the doctor. So he was lying on the bed, and when I said that, he turned away from me. You know, heard the cold shoulder? He turned his shoulder and went right into my heart. Prabhupada's in his last days, and I'm disturbing him. Then tomorrow, very intelligently said, who were you referring to, Srila Prabhupada? He was so sweet. And then Prabhupada said, my son. His son was there, and he was doing the lead, so Prabhupada changed the subject, and I was properly chastised. I didn't have any grudge against it. I spoke when I shouldn't have spoken. And in those days, it was seriously. I mean, in general, it's serious. Vachavega, Rupa Goswami gives the first injunction. Control your tongue. If you speak inappropriately, it's in trouble. Jiva Goswami spoke inappropriately. Rupa Goswami told him he couldn't stay with him anymore. That's a whole other story. But the talking is a key. When to talk and when not to talk. So tomorrow, and then I just sat there, and I was feeling, you know how you feel when you make a mistake. And it went on for 15 minutes or so, and then it was quiet, and then Tamal said, should we have Kirtan, Prabhupada? Prabhupada said, yes. Then Tamal said, Maharaj, you sing. Yes, they sing. And I was emotional, and I sang, Yes, and I sang from my heart, and everybody liked it. Tamal was looking at me, because I sang with emotion. So it turned out okay. Right? He did make me emotional, crying to myself a little bit, and feeling bad that I understood Prabhupada. But I got a chance to dovetail that emotion in the kirtan. And still, that's my favorite kirtan. That's another one. Did we sing it tonight?
Haribo.
So I think I'm finished, right? Don't we have another program?
Yes.
He's my manager. He said we have. So thank you, ladies, for being so kind to invite us and listening so attentively. That's the key. To hear. Beginning. Hear attentively, then you can repeat. And don't speak when you should hear. Otherwise you make mistakes. Any comments? Thank you very much. Shri Prabhupada ki. Jai. Harinatha Swami ki. Jai. Nandaka Maharaj ki. Jai. Gopal Maharaj ki. Jai. Mahakrishna Maharaj ki. Jai. The Maharaj he was super really. And he did it, after that, he didn't stop. He did wonderful service. But this was the year before, so for a full year he was the Prabhupada secretary. After the incident of him, Prabhupada telling him he should stay in Mayapur. So he had plenty of time to correct himself. I'm sure he's with Prabhupada now. I'm sure. Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
My teacher also. He was my friend. We were very close and somebody. He left his body in Orlando, that's where I was. I seen him just before. We had lunch together at his project there. We had a project. Missing him. He was so dear to Prabhupada.
His Holiness Sri Ram Swami Maharaj ki. Jai.